Testing. All right. You can cut out of this.
Hey, yo, Yeah. Run it up, Blondo.
Hey, see, I'm from Texas, where we should ride in swangers and put diamonds in our niggas. Her drinking out my lemonade till it look like a Pepsi. See, I come from the D where we got checks and we be flexing. If you ain't from my state, then you should know, don't miss it. Hey, we always strapped, we keep our weapons. My mama from the 8, she slowed it down for me at 7. Used to think Pepsi was the guy before he went to heaven. I knew what Pusha he was before Gunna even said it. Hey, she zero taught me keep my weapon and never trust a door cause it's expected. No killers from the country, they ride horses and throw sevens. Got niggas in the East, ride ATVs with Mac 11s.
First off, you better remember what that sign say before you come down here. Don't mess with Texas.
Hey, see, I'm from Texas. We got Beyonce, Trey the Truth, and we can't forget Devin. Big shout out to them boys, and I can't forget about them Texas. I've been feeling like Luca, how I bought that shit a blessing. Number one rule in Texas, keep it solid, ain't no telling. Hey, and always keep your weapon. Try me or the guys, we got no choice but stretch him. If he survive these, that first bet, he that stretch him. These diamonds, I got water, might just go Johnny my next one. Hey, this Texas tea is what I drink. Sauce Walker had us dripping, sauce had then on drink. Young Nasa had us jigging, dipping, ain't know how to think. Now I got all these stepping, swiping, catching plays. Hey.
Oh, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Doc Holiday. We back again on a Sunday evening with HBCU Tonight, powered by HBCU Overdrive. Make sure that you like the stream, comment, share. Most of all, subscribe to that good old channel. For all y'all don't know, we always simulcast between YouTube and Twitter. So all the folks on Twitter, if you want to come to the dark side, hit that subscribe button on Twitter and on YouTube, and also follow me on Twitter. So we just gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring my guest up here. Y'all know we got Twitter space on there talking about SIAC football. I'm gonna bring my guy Kendrick, D2 HBCU football, up to the stage. What's going on? What's up, man? What's up?
Ain't nothing. Last time you came on here, you talked bad about my JSU Tigers losing to Kentucky State, but we ain't gonna get into that right there. We're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that. Hey man,
y'all in a different era now, so.
Oh yeah, we in a different. We gonna be good. We Gucci, y'all. We Gucci. But now, man. First of all, man, let's talk about the space that we had earlier today with my guy with BJ. And if y'all don't know what we talking about, it was a video that was circulating with a Pee Wee football team that was, they were brought onto the field, and Lord knows I'm telling my age now. I don't know who the damn rapper is, but they were singing the damn thing word for word. They kids, but they're 8, 9 years old. So we feel, he felt like it was inappropriate for those kids to listen to that type of music coming out coming out on the field. And we had I think, how long was that space? Probably about 4 hours.
Yeah, I think it went on about 4 hours. I hopped on for a minute, and I was like, they've been going a long time. And that post is still doing numbers. It's attracting a lot of attention.
But yeah, my whole thing is, if you're the coach, you're supposed to set an example for the players. They playing the game, right? They're playing the game. You're supposed to set an example for them. And one of the examples is like, we gonna be young men when we come out there on the field, when we go out there and play, and just to try to get the team hyped up, hey man, we can chill out on the music, that type of music. Now, if you want to play that music, man, you could have just gone ahead and played a clean version of that album right there. It wouldn't have been no issue, but it was just the way that when you look at the video, you seen those kids and they were just going bar for bar. And I'm like, I know I ain't sound like that when I was 8 years old, because I couldn't even fathom myself to listen to. Well, hell, I grew up in the era of NWA, so
But I think a lot of people were just not being intellectually honest, or I had this thing where people are just philosophically inconsistent, right? Because there are a lot of things that lead to things that go on in our community, and so when we look at that, when we're trying to undo some of the damages that just has been done, and we get to a place and we wonder, how did we get here? And then everybody has all these solutions. But one of the solutions is we have to undo those small things. For a lot of people, it's like, that's okay. We can just let that slide. But letting one thing slide leads to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then when we get to the big issue of violence that's in our community, whether it's violence towards women, whether it's just any type of violence, actually, then we're like, oh, well, where did we go wrong? Because there are certain things that we have to kind of get under control. And I just think 8 years old. I get the other argument that the people were making, like, hey, it's music, but music today, I know you talk about NWA, but that music also served as a purpose, right? They were speaking for certain time. Now it's just so casual to just talk about doing things to women, unaliving another black brother. Like, those things are just so common. Because like, you have to almost kind of drown it out from hearing that. And so like, we just make it so normal. Then when it happens, or when they get to University of Georgia and they get arrested for doing something, then we're like, well, how did we end up here? We ended up here because we didn't take the necessary steps when they were younger. So I just think the people who were defending it, they were just defending it because they just, be honest, they like the music. They don't see a problem with the music. However, it is a problem because the deeper problem is in the culture that exists in our community.
Right. And when you think about it though, too, like, an 8-year-old child, their mind, their brain is not all the way developed. So whatever you put in their head, whatever you tell them, they soak it up like a sponge. Like, even when, I got girls. So my youngest daughter, I always tell her, you're a black princess, and don't let nobody ever tell you anything different. And that's what I ingrained in her head from the time she was born to to right now. She's 9 years old. She turned 10 in February. So when it comes down to it, it's all about how we put that info and how we get to the point of developing our kids, when with just everything that we do.
I mean, just what a couple of weeks ago, that story came out about that 12-year-old girl suffocating her 8-year-old cousin.
Right.
You know, I mean, and it's not just the stories that we hear about, it's the stories that we don't hear about. It's the stories that don't get national attention. Like where I stay, it's a small town, not even 15,000 people that stay here. But you're talking about we had 8 murders last year in a town with 10,000 people. And one of those murders was a 6-year-old boy that was sleeping in his bed, shooting up an apartment. So yeah, I hear what you're talking, what they're saying. Oh, they're 8 years old, they're not doing this and that. But there's another story to that. Like multiple things can be true at one time. And if people are not willing to sit down and have those real conversations, how we enable the violence in our community willingly, you know, then we're really not serious about addressing what's going on.
All right. So yeah, you know, that, like I said, that was a time and a place right there in that space today. And if y'all did not check it out, y'all need to go check out the replay of that space. It was interesting. My whole thing is it was some of the pushback from some of the guys that was talking, especially the one guy, and where I kind of get, I you know, we got up in arms. You talking about, well, it's the HBCU education, the boule. Like, bro, what did you talking about? What are you talking about? To me, that tells me that you was uninformed and you was uneducated, and you stopped your education at a certain point where, when you think about this thing called life, you learn every day. It ain't you don't stop learning. It's you learn about something, you learn about somebody, you learn about somewhere. It's a never ending thought process. But when he said the boule part, I was like, bro, what are you talking about? You got a whole slew of dudes up in here, up in arms, because we take, you know, at the end of the day, we take pride in our education from our historically Black colleges and universities. Myself and my guy down here, Jay, Jackson State. Yourself, Tuskegee. You know, everybody else in here, Mr. Emmett is in here. He went to Grambling. My uncle said he took Tougaloo in Jackson State. He also went to Mississippi State. I also went to Stephen F. Austin. So it's like, come on now. Don't do that. Don't do that. And if you just want to stay, if you just want to stay ignorant to the situation, that's on you. But don't try to drag everybody else down with you either.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's an old argument, and even like some of the guys who were making arguments for it, I would advise them to go look at Dr. Borkins and Dr. Eric Dyson. They went on a worldwide tour debating rap music in the Black community. And I was like, even some of their points, it doesn't pan out in their favor. So they should go educate themselves on how to even argue how that music isn't the problem. So it was just a bunch of people who just, I think in the age of social media, right? It has allowed communities of people to gather and to galvanize that we've never seen before. And so even when we start getting to like, we call it HBCU Twitter, right? Like there's a sector of Twitter that's HBCU Twitter. And then you have, you know, some people talk about, oh, you got the Hotep Twitter, you got the academia Twitter, you got these different sectors. And every now and again, you know, we're in our bubble and we can have a conversation amongst ourselves. And every now and again, we can tweet something that makes its way to another sector of social media. And then we get to see how those people think. And I think it's good. It's a good learning point. I'm glad that BJ had that space, because we should always be aware that there are people who don't necessarily think like us. You know, like we constantly hear this term, the Black community, the Black community, the Black community. However, the Black community is a very diverse place. It's full as a diverse. The diversity is really extensive. and we can't just act like they don't exist. But there is a culture of blackness that exists out there, and sometimes we just have to hear them out. And I think that space was a good place to hear them out, although we don't agree and disagree. And we disagree with them. At the end of the day, I support the sovereignty of Black people as a fundamental practice. And so every one of those brothers that spoke, I still love them as a Black man. Don't wish no ill on them. And I just, one day I hope that we can come together and have beneficial conversations to find those areas that we can coexist in. But yeah.
Even with my young boy, he just graduated, played on the football team for FAMU. He kind of chimed in, but he kind of brought, and it's good for when you got a young person to come into the space and they can broaden your horizon. You know what I'm saying? And he put it out there. It's like, somebody texted me like, man, he probably crazy, but I'm like, at the same time, he's young, but he did have some good points in what he was saying. Like he was saying about his dad teaching him about just, you got standards. You got standards with what you do. You got standards in how you represent our family in this last name that you carry right here. So, still shout out to him for even coming on and speaking his mind at the time. But sometimes we still do need to have some conversations like this. And especially with now what we got in this environment as far as on the political spectrum with the presidential election and what is going to be in store for us, whoever we elect for the next 4 years.
Yeah, and one of the things and I'll go back to what you said. One of the things that I like that how BJ ran that space, he didn't allow people to cut them off to be heard. And I think that's when we start talking about in the political space and how people talk about Black men in this particular climate, that a lot of times, a lot of people don't feel heard, right? And they have stances, whether we agree or not with their stances. Sometimes we have to listen. We have to hear. And so you see a community of people that some of them are running with misinformation. Some of them have some valid concerns, valid points about this and that. And I think this whole idea of just, they're miseducated, they're dumb, they're stupid, which is the energy that a lot of people approach them with, I think that's a real turnoff. And that's just going to make people rebel. That's going to make people not want to come to the table and talk to you. And so I advocate that both sides leave the oppressor's language alone. I don't agree with people on either side calling the other side coons and those are the oppressor. Right. That's the oppressor's language. Audre Lorde told us a long time ago that the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And we just have to not only have conversations, we have to find ways to coexist. They're not going anywhere, right? They're not going anywhere. They're rooted in whatever they believe in. Even when we get to talking about the FBAs and all these subcultures that are emerging, they're not going anywhere. And so it's best that we sit down and have conversations that at the base, I feel like when we're talking about FBAs, ADOS, and these different the whole tips or whatever we're talking about, I feel like at the base level, we all want Black people to succeed. So we have to approach the conversations like, I think everybody in that space today, want the best for those young boys that was in that video. The ways in which we get there are different, but I feel like we just have to acknowledge that.
The real reason for the space was to kind of it was really because BJ was going back and forth. And BJ don't really try to go back and forth with anybody like that. He gonna say what he say. He gonna keep pushing. So you know, that's the reason why he had the space. And basically the reason why he had the space because his tweets had gained so much traction that it was time for us to actually talk about this. Especially when we got most of us that's in this space, we all have kids. And some of them have young sons and stuff like that. I, on the other hand, I'm not in the liberty to say about anybody's son because I got girls. But if I did have a son, best believe he ain't listen to that unless I'm listening to it. And if he listens to it, it's going to be the edited version. And or the fact that like how my daughter did, my youngest daughter do it, she'd be like, if I had a car, you know, we'd be driving around, I listen to my music. She got headphones on and she is on her iPad. She is on her damn tablet. She ain't worried about nobody. She is not worried about nobody. But like I said, it's still a good thing to have as far as this conversation. But anyway, man, let's get up into this this SIAC talk right here, man. So y'all on the clock. Y'all are on the clock. So the big boogeyman, aka who I call Black Thanos, he done took his talents from B2 Benedict all the way to South Carolina State. He just up the road, but Benedict feel like they could still run the table in the conference. What are your thoughts about as far as who you think can be the new dog, the new king of the conference this season?
I think the conference is miles to win. I thought the conference was miles to lose or win last season. They were the only team like to take Benedict to the wire. They fell apart at that Albany State game. But if you look at Miles, you look at what they did to Bama State, you look at how they basically a game was taken from them. You score twice and they take both touchdowns back at Pine Bluff. But we're gonna talk about that. But they almost get one in Pine Bluff. And they were just a really, really tough team to beat. You see them go up on Benedict with like a minute left in the game. Then Benedict came back, drove the ball down, scored with about 30, 40 seconds left in the game, like championship teams do. And when they was getting on the bus, a lot of Benedict players were telling Miles, like, hey, see y'all in Atlanta, because I think Benedict felt like, hey, this is the best challenge that we've had. And then a couple of injuries, and they just go down there to Ram Land and get lamb blasted. Like, that was the biggest shock for me. But coming into this season, I think you look at what Miles added, and what they didn't lose. And one of the things is that offensive line for Miles was they were tough. They didn't get a lot of credit because it's not like they had really big explosive runs, but 3-4 yards on first down, 4 yards on second down, you need 2 yards on third down. And that's just the type of ball that they played. I mean, they were just really hard to contain, you know. I think for a lot of people, they question the quarterback position, but I think the quarterback position is just fine for them because the Cam Ivory cat, he played in the Benedict game, so he's the one that led them, you know, through that game. So I think they're settled at quarterback. They got a running back that went down in the Alabama State game. I saw he been putting in work. I'm like, bro, he's ready. He felt like last season should have been his year. And so I just think Miles is just going to be that team that a lot of teams are going, they're going to struggle with. And like I said, if they can finish out the season, I think that it's going to be a tough outing for everybody.
Now, so when I started getting into, started watching D2 football, I started really, really watching it last season, and basically I was surprised at all by the play, and I felt like, especially when I watched Miles last season, when they got Alabama State last year, they was supposed to get Pine Bluff in that game also. I'm like, man, this team is one of them teams where I'm like, you gotta watch out for them. They can be sneaky, but I don't even think Coach Shea wants to be sneaky. He wants to let you know up front. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta come see us, and if you don't come see us, we gonna come see you, and we gonna beat you down in your house. Fort Valley, another one that if Randall was on here, he'll talk about the dirty blue defense. But you know, I think they made some strides, but I feel like the wins came out of the sails a little bit when they played Benedict. We talked about this last Sunday when they played Benedict on ESPNU, and it was just like they couldn't come back from it. And plus, Kevin Durham was playing. He played injured in that game. He was injured in that game. But they do get their signal caller back. So I just think that they can actually they will be ones to compete. You look at Edward Waters and what Coach Morgan has done in his time up there, you know, time in Jacksonville. Didn't even know Jaron Russell, you know, I didn't know who he was until I seen him play. And I watched him. I'm like, okay, I know this kid. I know I've seen this kid before. And I'm like, man, I'm like, he's from Texas. He's from Grand Prairie. So I'm like, I've seen him play. So and he's a baller. And I think they're going to miss him. I think they'll miss him this season. But I feel like they got a QB that's going to be in store for them. Then you got Albany State with the Golden Rams. And this is Coach Quinn's, second year or third year?
His second year.
Yeah, his second year with the team in the conference. He got a lot coming up his sleeve. But we got some sleepers, man. When you talk about SIAC football, you got one of them is right across the street from Benedict, Allen University. We already know Coach Keaton took his talents over to Atlanta, and he took half the team with him. But what do you see about with Allen, what they can improve on this season than what they had from last season?
I just think Allen is just they just have to try to salvage a season. They're going from a coach and see the coaching style of Coach Pearl. And, you know, Coach Pearl, he's a skeeky man, so I'm going to show him a little respect. But he's definitely a run type guy, right? And Keaton wanted to air the ball out. That's Keaton thing. And so I think they will struggle to find an identity because we've seen that a couple times in the conference where these teams are struggling to change from what they normally do to what they do. So I look for Bo Harrington to have a decent season for them, but I don't see them. I don't see Allen having a say in the conference for real. And I saw one of the comments, and so when they talk about like Benedict, right? I look at like we've seen these experiments before. The only problem is with Benedict because let's talk about when Barry got to Benedict. We talk about the turnaround, but Barry followed a good coach in Mike White to Benedict. Some of those pieces that Barry worked with, they were already there when he got there. Like Phoenix was already there when Barry had gotten there. And he gets there and he takes that Benedict team and he knocks off Miles in his first year. He beats Miles on homecoming. That's when I said my eyebrows raised. I said, wait a minute. You don't go down there and knock off him. At that time, Miles was the big dog walking around the conference. Ruffin had turned them into the SIAC Kings, honestly. They go down there, they knock off Miles. You know, they hang around there with Albany State that first year, and I'm like, yeah, something cooking with that man. And then he comes back that next year, and you see him have that that complete team. And he comes back, last year he has a really strong team. But then what happens is he takes a lot of and not just the pieces that he took with him to South Carolina State, the pieces that also went to other schools.
Yeah.
A lot of their starters and people who had snap experience, they went to other schools. Some of them landed at other schools in the conference, especially around your trench play. Had a couple offensive line. I think one offensive lineman that I wanted us to get, he ended up at Limestone. So there were some cats that could have been a nucleus for them that also got out. And I'm not sure, and this is no knock on that staff, I'm just not sure if that staff was able to corral some of going from Benedict to Limestone. You got to keep that guy, right? Yeah, you got that guy taking too many snaps for you. You need to try to court those guys. They're getting a lot of talent in, but it takes time to gel. They sign guys almost every day. They're welcoming a new guy to the team. It takes time. And you look at their front end of their schedule, they got Virginia State right off the rip. Yeah, they got Virginia State right off the rip. And I think, and I honestly believe that they will be a good team towards the end of the year. They're going to be one of those stronger teams that could spoil somebody's hope to get into the championship. But I just don't see Benedict being championship ready in that amount of time and for what they lost. And that's just no knock on what they've done. I think the culture and the standard is set, but I just think we have to be realistic. That even happened with Tuskegee. And when Coach Ruffin came over to Tuskegee, he took a SIAC championship runner-up team and merged them with a Tuskegee team that had pretty decent talent. And you look at the beginning of that season, we struggled. Then when we get midway the season, we go to West Alabama, we knock off West Alabama. Everybody like, whoa, wait a minute. And we find our way to the championship game. And so it's like on the back end of the season, because that first season, Fort Valley beat us, 30-3, 30-0, something like that. We got dog walk. And everybody was like, will we win a game this year? We went up, Hampton beat us. And then, like I said, midway the season, we found our stride and we were able to piece it together. And I feel like that could happen for Benedict. But we didn't lose what Benedict lost, too. Tuskegee still had some core. He's bringing a bunch of new guys that have never played in this conference before. And I think when people say that, coaches have pride too, right? Coaches, they want to, everybody want their shot at Benedict. Everybody like, hey, these last 2 years, y'all done came and rumbled. You're going to get these coaches' best shot. It will look bad in a sense. I started talking about Coach, it would look bad if this man comes together, put a whole different roster together and comes back and dominates the conference again. I'll begin to question coaching in the conference. How are they able to come back? And maybe all of us need to be rethinking our coaches if they come back and run through the conference like that. So,
yeah, then we, Benedict starting out, man. Virginia State is slated to win the CIAA this year. They are slated to be number one in the conference. Dr. Henry Frazier got a damn good team up there. But let's get on to your Tuskegee Golden Tigers, man. So what do you expect for them this coming up season? First of all, shout out, because I know y'all said you been, my man been tweeting every time, getting the lights up into the stadium and everything. When that's supposed to happen?
We'll see. They ain't dug no holes yet, so when I'm gonna record it when they start digging the holes down there. It's just one of those things where in the rural areas, so when we start talking about HBCUs in general, sometimes we lump them all together, but we can't, because you're in a town like Tuskegee. Because even when we bought the Jumbotron to Tuskegee, you start talking about having to deal with the power companies that have to come down and run all kind of power to just get that level of electricity to areas in a rural city like Tuskegee. So that is a massive endeavor. And they're just not lighting the football field, they're lighting the softball field, the baseball field, and the football field. So shout out to AD Ruffin for having a vision and getting that done. But it's not an overnight project.
Yeah, so but I did see that the shed was getting refurbished up there down there. I promise you I went to one Tuskegee game and I thought the horseshoe was rowdy. Your kids is on one under that shed, y'all. If you ever been to Tuskegee and you watched them play in that shit, man. But as far as the team goes, what we looking at? What are y'all looking like for this coming season?
It's gonna be interesting who wins the quarterback spot. It went through the spring with a couple of guys. I think we got a transfer from Faulkner that I personally like. I see they signed a guy out of Cali. I've heard good things about him. I heard that he can really sling it around. I watched a little bit of his film. So that quarterback position is going to be interesting. And that's one of the reasons why, if you look at the stuff that I put out, I really don't have Tuskegee getting to that championship game because we do have question marks at quarterback. Got some question marks at the receiver position. We lost, everybody knows we lost Meeks. He went to Louisville. But we also lost Corey Petty. We lost a lot to graduation. So I look for a lot of those younger guys to step up. But it's going to be a learning curve. A lot of my expectations of Tuskegee is going to be it's going to be based off how we perform against Johnson C. Smith. And not to just disrespect Johnson C. Smith, but if Tuskegee wants to make a play for an SIAC title, which is, what they've been saying, I feel like we have to dominate Johnson C. Smith coming to that game. And if we don't dominate, I got a few question marks. The spring game, I feel like the offensive line looked really good, but it's a spring game. Two things can be: either our defensive line is that bad or the offensive line is that good. We won't know until we line up against somebody else. So the offensive line was young last year. They're pretty much still intact. Our offensive line coach did pass away. Rest in peace. But we got a new offensive line coach. I think that he'll have those guys ready to go. So we'll just see. Tuskegee is a work in progress. It is. I think that we had gotten down low. I think a lot of our base didn't really understand like how low we had dropped. And it's just a testing. Like, you have these highs and lows. We were so used to winning. I think when I was tallying up the record, we've lost more games in the last 4 years than we lost in like the last 17 years combined.
Damn.
So we're in a little slump, but we still have a say. Like, we were still in the SIAC championship game to the last game, so it's still Tuskegee, right? They're still gonna have a say. So I just want to see us make strides in the right direction for this season.
Right, man. Let's get into this. We got I feel like this might be a sleeper team this season. Central State, the Marauders. I think they do got something cooking up there. I wouldn't pass them by either. Another one would be Clark Atlanta, with Coach Keaton going over there, and like I said, bringing half of his Allen team, including the quarterback. But I think there's going to be some stepping stones. You know what I'm saying? Learning curve for Clark Atlanta. For Clark, I feel like it'll be a year, not this season, but maybe next season or so, once he get his whole, once he get another recruiting class coming in, and then you'll see everything. I think you'll see everything take place with Clark. Savannah State, Kentucky State, and Morehouse. I don't know. I really can't say. I really can't say too much about those three right there.
So like back like Central State, they did end the year on a 5-game winning streak. I felt like Central State had a good team last year. I do have some suggestions for Central State though. While they're all the way down here in Alabama and Mobile trying to find guys, there's a team called Findlay right there in Ohio that's teaching you how to recruit. Okay. They're teaching you that Ohio has talent. How do I know that Findlay team can find the Ohio talent? The Tuskegee team that beat a SWAC school and a then MEAC school in the same season. I'm not gonna talk about which one while I'm on this show. We took that same team up to Findlay in a YMCA stadium, and they almost put 70 points on us. I think 67-0. They beat us with some Ohio players that we didn't even know who are these people, who are these kids. And I'm just saying, I really wish you look at their roster and how they're signing. I'm saying I really think they should tap into that Ohio talent market, because you can win with Ohio talent. That being said, the way that they recruit, I think also aids in their high turnover rate. I feel like he had 3 good quarterbacks last season, and then you look up and all of them jump in the portal, right? And so it's like you're back at 0 and you're looking for a quarterback, and I'm like, but you have pieces, like they have pieces there that I feel like they could be really really good. And so, but it's like this revolving door that's happening up there, and they just can't put a complete team together. And that's what bothers me, and that's why I don't really have stake in them. I feel like they had the best linebacker duo in Division II, in Jaleel Lenore and Dominique Davis. Them boys, and especially Dominique Davis. My God, that backside, that they call that backside blitz for him. He was coming, and he was gonna get there every time. Dude was a beast. He got in the portal too, but he got out of the portal, and so he's back. So I look for him to be productive at Central State. Will they have a say in the conference? They're not my sleeper team. I tell you, my sleeper team is Kentucky State, in which they started the game off with Virginia Union. Now, I've been stirring the pot a little bit, because I've been telling everybody that Kentucky State is going to clip Virginia Union. And people who don't watch SIAC football, like, boy, you must be on that good pack, because how in the world is Kentucky State going to knock Virginia Union? Well, Kentucky State was the number 2 run defense in the SIAC. Now, you look at what happened to them during the season. They could have got a bunch of teams, and
it was the first year head coach too.
It was the first year head coach. He was switching them over from this heavy run type of offense that they were doing. He wanted to air the ball out. I look at what he added. I'm looking at what's coming back. They had a quarterback. A lot of people didn't. He got hurt midway the season, Christian Perez, and I met the boy. The boy can throw the ball, and so the tempo that they run their game with, coupled with a defense that I think is going to be better, because that defensive line that they had is coming back. I think them Panthers, that one-dimensional offense that Virginia Union runs, they gonna find and they got to go to Frankfurt. A lot of people don't. It's not easy to win at Kentucky State. It's no walk in the park. They got to go to Kentucky State. I'm definitely I'm going with Kentucky State by 10. I think they're my sleeper team in the conference, just because they sit on like a little island by themselves, and people don't think much of them. And I looked at the body language they coach and their players at media day, and them boys sat there like, y'all just have no idea what's coming. Coach said, "Oh, we signed like 40 guys." I said, well, coach, y'all didn't put that out. So I had to go digging to see who they added. And Kentucky State is going they're gonna rock a lot of people this season. The same with Clark, Atlanta. I'm a Teddy Keaton fan.
Oh yeah, that's my guy right there, man.
Yeah, I'm a Teddy Keaton fan. I think, and I don't want to get into it with other coaches, but I think he's my favorite coach in the conference. Just his position and just how he worked his way up. If you followed his career at Stillman, I mean, he almost ended the legendary Coach Slater's career at Tuskegee by coming in and beating him with Stillman. I'll never forget that game. The people were chasing behind the president's car saying, hey, you need to get rid of him. We don't lose to Stillman. And so Keaton, he's rough, he's tough wherever he goes, but I will say I feel like they're one of those teams who they're going to be tougher on the back end of the season than the front end of the season. As that team gels, as that team comes together, learn how to play together, which it's just it takes a little time. And I think towards the back end, I hate that we play them late in the season, and I do not like that. I do not like going to Clark Atlanta late in the season. So I think that'll be another team that's gonna be tough to beat as the season goes on.
I forgot about Lane College in this thing too. So I'm not gonna say anything about Lane because last time Lane played the HBCU FCS team, they beat him in Tennessee State. So I'm kind of leery about this team right here. You know, with that team though, they had a good defensive end in Andrew Farmer, and they had an absolutely good team, decent good team that year that they won against Tennessee State. I don't know what I see from them now, but it's one of the teams I would be very leery of, especially my Jackson State team. You know, be very leery because last time, and kids can always remind me, last time y'all played us SIAC team, y'all lost.
Yeah. But y'all not that Jackson State no more. I'll give y'all that credit. Y'all not that Jackson State anymore. And then y'all got my guy James down there coaching the defensive line. That ain't gonna happen. He was on that team. He was on that team. He was our nose guard on that team that beat y'all. And so that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. I was, when we were looking for a defensive coordinator, and after this year we switched a couple coaches, and I was hoping that they reached out and got him to come there. And when I saw y'all had got him, I was like, you couldn't have got a better coach. Just his energy, a real upstanding guy. If you know anything about Coach Slater, he's a real quiet. I'm gonna tell you about the man's character. Like, he's a real quiet guy. If Coach Slater goes on an interview and says, I believe I have the best nose guard in the country, if he talks about you that way, you got an upstanding guy down there.
Right.
And, so I feel like he's going to do well for y'all.
Yeah, I like his man. Look, I've seen videos of him, and I like his passion, his energy. And the main thing is he can relate to the kids. Yeah, that's on defense, for the defensive line and stuff like that. And he don't shy away from anything. And he'll tell, to me, when I'm looking at it, he'll tell you like it is. Yeah. And I think TC did get a good hire with him. But with Lane, yeah, we people say, my folks be like, man, we're gonna beat them by 60. I want to, but you know what I'm saying? Like, look, these SIAC teams, they don't come in thinking that, they're gonna get ran over. Gotta look, let's look at what happened. Like I said, Miles came in and just try to bum rush everybody in the SWAC.
I think one of the things is with Lane, when you look at that Tennessee State, I think it's a matchup thing when it comes down to Lane and when they come against an FCS team. So you look at Tennessee State that year. Tennessee State was just a team they wanted to play a kind of like a real fundamental type of football game, just get the first down and move. Lane is one of those opportunistic teams. You know, it's just like the backyard at your grandma's house. They want to toss it around. You see when they go to play A&M last season, and although the score A&M blew them out, you look at the yardage. You know, I think they threw for right at 300 yards against A&M in that game because that's the type of game they play. But A&M also could play that game too. A&M could play that toss around game, and so when they come across a team that can toss it around like them, I don't think that they're a threat. But if you're a team that just trying to get first down, long sustained drives, Lane will try to hang in there with you and knock you off at the end. You know, so it's gonna be a matchup. I don't know. I don't know if Jackson State's gonna be the best matchup for this particular Lane team. And they not one of the ones that I have knocking y'all off. For me, I just want to see Lane get back to 5 wins. I want to see them get back to 500 this season. And I think they're capable of doing that, but they got a few pieces that they need to put together, right? They really got to be able to get an offensive line and develop them to be able to compete. So I think y'all good down there with Lane.
All right. Let's get into some notable games that that people need to watch and see. Okay, the first game is always the first game of the season. Red Tails Classic. Is it still Tuskegee and Fort Valley?
No, it's Tuskegee and Johnson C. Smith, and I'll say I really hate that Fort Valley is not in that game, and whoever was responsible for Fort Valley pulling out of that game, and I will say I don't think it was on Fort Valley's end. I think it was on our end. I think that was a dumb decision because that game had grown to one of the best games in Division II football, and you just don't pull the plug on games like that because they don't happen every day. You can't create that type of atmosphere outside of the Fountain City Classic, our homecoming, the Miles game. What other game in the SIAC was bringing those type of numbers? So I think you find a way to pull that game back together, and so I just don't like it. I don't like that Fort Valley is not in that game because Johnson
C. Smith coming out for Florida Beach Bowl win.
But they got beat. Fort Valley beat them in that.
Fort Valley beat them. Okay, I thought they won a game, but shoot. Yeah. But still, they coming in and they want to add on to it. And like I said, they my surprise. They'll be my. I won't even call them a sleeper team. They'll be a team that you really have to watch out for in CIAA. I would say one game I will look at would be Clark Atlanta versus. I want to see what they do against Fort Valley if they got them on schedule this season.
Yeah, and that's the first game. That's the first game I'm actually going to. They play each other first. Clark Atlanta goes to Fort Valley on the 31st, and I'm really looking forward to that game. I have Fort Valley winning it, right? Because I have Clark better on the back end of the season. But if Clark can make that game interesting, watch out for them. You know, like they might be further ahead of schedule than I thought they were. But for me, if Fort Valley is going to get over the hump this year, right? Because I mean they've been right there in it the last 2 seasons. If they're going to get over the hump, you have a team that's figuring it out, because that's what Clark Atlanta is doing. Fort Valley, you're not figuring it out. You got Marshall coming back. You got Kelvin Durham coming back. You got the tight end, which is the most violent tight end in the conference. That boy is violent. I really think that they need to start throwing the flag on that cat. That cat is violent. I mean, he will tear when he's pulling. He will tear your end up. If your end is not looking, he finna be on his ass. Cause that boy. He's something. He really adds to that. So with Marshall coming back, Durham, my only thing that concerns me about Fort Valley is they lost some pieces on that defense. They had a couple of guys come in. Fort Valley has that coaching staff. They believe they develop their guys. Like they still want them country guys, them down middle Georgia guys, and get in there and play football. And so I don't think that they will be overly missed, but just how much time would it take them to adjust, replacing some of those pieces on the defensive line. But I think Fort Valley is going to be a really solid team, and they're going to be a tough out too. But that game is going to determine a lot, in my opinion.
I'm looking forward to Tuskegee going down to Jacksonville to play Edward Waters. I look at it as a revenge game. I watched that game from start to finish, bro, and that Hail Mary just broke your heart, dog. Because I don't even think you had a space and you was like, I ain't want to be here.
That's just how it was. I was like, that game was really, really, really interesting. We were down in that game most of the game. We scored like 14 points in a minute, and we took the lead, and we relaxed. Right? We thought, okay, we got it. My problem was the first try. I can see us not thinking, oh, maybe he don't have the arm strength to get it down there, right? The first try, the boy almost came down with it that time, so we can see that he has the arm strength. Like we see it. Okay, like he can get the ball down there. Yep. We come back out, give him the second try, and matter of fact, we play it even more lax than we played it the first time he did it. The boy just showed you that he can get the ball down there. And so you look at it, you get it, knock the ball down. Everybody wanted to catch it. Everybody wanted to get the interception, knock the ball down, win the game. But we didn't. And it wasn't no fluke because they turned around and beat Albany State in a similar fashion the very next week.
Right.
And
let's see. Do we got any other teams from the side playing SWAC teams this season? Other than Lane and Jackson State?
Yeah.
Of course, Turkey Day Classic. But
yeah, we go down to Grambling too this year. We go down to Grambling, and I have my thoughts about that game, but like I said, my thoughts about Tuskegee is going to be determined how we play against Johnson C. Smith. But I'm gonna tell you a game that really intrigues me, and people might think I'm crazy about this. That Savannah State Southern game intrigues me. Now, you look at Savannah State, and a lot of people just dismisses them. I saw them play a couple of times. One of the best defensive lines in the conference. Okay, like them boys get after it. They got a lot of those guys coming back. They got a really solid linebacker coming back. I think that defense is just going to be hell. On top of that, their offense just was not that bad. Like they had a decent offense. Deshaun Mitchell, he could tear you up. And the quarterback, Jaden, I felt like he was good too. So to have them coming back, to have a cohesive team, that continuity coming back, I think says a lot about what they can do. And I'm telling you, Southern is down there scrambling because I've seen some of the guys that they've been picking up here lately. I'm like, okay, if Southern is scrambling come that first game, it might be, at least for a half, it might be interesting with Savannah State and Southern down there. So that's one of the games that I have watched. I also have Edward Waters and Alcorn circle.
Oh, that's a good one. That's another one.
Now normally Edward Waters starts off slow, but in that transition period, because Edward Waters, like even last year, they start off slow, then they get good, and people are like, okay, how did we lose to them? And they were looking at their record. But in doing that transition periods are a learning experience for institutions. and they were learning about how to get guys cleared before the season. And one thing about it, they have a president that's very open and honest about their growing pains. So this year, they've made the necessary steps, and they've already said, "Oh, all our guys cleared first game. Like we gonna be good first game." On top of that, people got to remember who their offensive coordinator is. Brian Jenkins is the offensive coordinator for Edward Waters. This is the same man, okay, that had Bethune-Cookman going. This is no cakewalk. It was on one SWAC show, they were saying they were going to beat Edward Waters by 60. I think you better rethink that. And in no disrespect to Alcorn, like Alcorn is no offensive juggernaut. Like they're a defensive team. But if you mess around and let Edward Waters get a little rhythm going, and don't get me wrong, I feel like when coaches have something to prove, okay, Brian Jenkins, I don't want to say his fall. Well, I'm gonna say his fall because I'm saying it out of respect. He leaves Bethune-Cookman, he goes to Alabama State. Things don't go the way that they should go at Bama State for him, right? So you get another job. You got to know that a coach of that caliber, he wants another shot at where he's been. So those coaches gonna put in the work, and he knows that going to places like that is how you prove that, hey, I'm still that guy. And so you got a Brian Jenkins down there, and you got to believe that they want those games. You want those games, you know. So hey, we'll see. Now they do have to go to the reservation. I've never been to the reservation personally, and I hear it's a hard place to go down there and pull out a win. But
it is.
But they're going, you know. So we'll see.
The reservation is just like going. It's just like in Tuskegee in the woods. In the woods. I just thought about this. Kentucky State takes on Alabama A&M this season.
Mm-hmm. And one thing about Kentucky State, even last year when we look at that team, like they played Grand Valley State last year. Kentucky State is not scared to put anybody on their schedule.
I see.
My only thing about A&M, and Tuskegee has had their struggles with. A&M is like one of the SWAC teams that Tuskegee they struggle to compete with A&M consistently. Like we'll pull out a win every 6 or 7 times we play. You know, like we don't consistently beat A&M the way that we compete with some of the other SWAC schools. And when you talk about Maynard, I think Maynard's style and the style that Kentucky State is going to want to play, I don't see Kentucky State being able to like compete a whole game with them. So one of the things that I think that made Slater so successful against SWAC teams was Slater was a coach that still believed in going under center, which was an interesting look for a lot of teams. That belly concept that Slater ran, it just gave teams fits because you didn't see it. That's not what SWAC teams were seeing week in and week out. Okay. And if you come there and you got Jackson State the next week and you know you got to beat them, how much time? I mean, you're going to devote some time to that, but it's not like Tuskegee was hiding what they were doing. It's like, oh, we can stop that. Then when you get there and realize they got a hat on the hat, you can't stop it. I think the style that Kentucky State plays and the way that A&M is going to play, I don't think that Kentucky State poses a threat to A&M. I think when you look at these matchups, it has to be a clash in styles for these upsets to happen. And so I don't think that they have a trouble. But I think Kentucky State will at least be competitive for, a half with A&M.
So preseason offensive and defensive player of the years for the conference. I'm gonna put it like this. For my pick for offensive player of the year, I got Kevin Durham. As a quarterback. Like Valley goes, 4 Valleys as Durham goes. If he in the game, you got a good chance to win. he does have a good, he got a damn good running back in Brandon Marshall, behind him. But you've seen where when he was not in games or he was not 100%, Fort Valley had issues when it came down to offensive play. Defensive player of the year, I can't really pick it right now because last season you had two-time defensive player of the year, Lou Danellis. He gone. He gone. He in the league. But who do you pick, Av, as your?
I was okay with them picking Michael King for Defensive Player of the Year. Had a hell of a season, switching from wide receiver to defensive back for us. For the Offensive Player of the Year, I understand why they gave it to David Wright. My problem is in the preseason season picks, Kelvin Durham didn't get second team. I was befuddled by that, but I think Arnold is good at Savannah State, but I don't think that you can pass up Kelvin Durham for Arnold. And I think Kelvin Durham does have an argument to be the Offensive Player of the Year. And so I think both of them kind of knows that. And I think you kind of give Kelvin Durham a little momentum, a little something to play for this, a little extra to go out there. And so I look for him to put up good numbers this year. Now, Jay White, I see you saying you're going to bulldog the Kentucky State. I mean, y'all barely got by them in 2017. So I'm just saying, what y'all beat them by what? But y'all just beat them by what? 6 points, 8 points in 2017. So hey, don't write it off. I see you, but hey, it's not like okay, I mean, I understand the people say that y'all coaching, for his life or whatever up there, but you just never know now. You just right. never know. That's why y'all took Fayetteville State out that schedule.
I'll get ready to say that too. I'll get ready to say that too. They knew they wrong for that. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Give me your conference. Give me your conference champion, and give me your runner-up who represents the SIAC in the Florida Beach Bowl.
Oh, now I hate to say this, God, because I'm gonna feel some type of way, but I think the championship game is gonna be Miles versus Fort Valley. I think Miles wins in a tough one, and Fort Valley is the runner-up. Now, I don't know because I really think that Miles and Fort Valley, how their schedule is set up, that they both can get into the playoffs, and right. It's lucky that they don't play each other in the season. And that's how I think the way the schedules kind of line up. I think that that Miles has a tough road to get there, but I'm looking at those two, because really you can't stumble. To be honest with you, you can't stumble. So I'm looking at Miles and Fort Valley in that game. Who goes to the Beach Bowl class? Are we even having a Beach Bowl class again this year? But that's a story.
I think we might. I think we are. I haven't heard any word about them not continuing it, but I think we are. But see, last season you watched that beat, I watched the game. It was damn near in the monsoon. Like it was raining cats, dogs, ducks, chickens, cow, everything out there in Florida. But I mean, it benefited John C. Was it John C. Smith? Fort Valley. It benefited Fort Valley in the game, and because they had the good run offense, and Durham really couldn't do too much in that game, but Brandon Marshall was the catalyst for that night. But other than that, I would say Morehouse would be Mr. Irrelevant for the for the conference. And we talked about it because it's Terrence Matthews' first season there, at Morehouse, but they got a lot of things. They got a lot of stuff to work on. But other than that, man, tell people where they can actually find you at and what you got going on for this week.
So yeah, you can find me at D2 HBCU Football on Twitter, Tuskegee Historian on TikTok, Instagram. And this week, I am relaxing. When I tell you, I've taken time out to just take a breather. And I just be in and out of spaces. Somebody invite me on, I'll hop on for a second. But I'm relaxing. Football season is right around the corner. And I'm just kind of booked up for football season. So I'm getting my rest now because I know when the season starts, and it starts earlier than it normally starts. So it started on the 31st. We have these week 0 games. And with 13 teams in the conference and just trying to at least be a little, cover them all, it keeps me a little stretched out. But yeah, so that's how you can follow me. And it's all things SIAC.
All right, man. I appreciate you for joining me today, man. Like I said, if you check out the space with Sunday nights at 7 on Twitter.
Yeah, so we getting ready to start back. I'm trying to get some more guys. I wish I had another thing. So I've been pushing. Like, there are a lot of new guys that are coming in the space, in the SIAC space. I think they're doing a really good job. Like Just Josh Sports, Inside the Bears Den. It's another one like those cats. I'll be posting them because I think they bring another perspective to the SIAC. And I really like what they're doing. And I think there's room and space for everybody in this HBCU Twitter space and in this SIAC space. And so I really want to see. Matter of fact, I'm gonna link you with that with Just Ja, because I think he'll be interesting, because he's a really contrast to me, right? And I'm always on these shows and I'm like, yeah, I want y'all to hear another, because I'm biased to see these people behind me.
Yeah, we know you about to ski.
But when the space starts back, I'm gonna tweet it out. We're trying to decide whether we're gonna move to like a YouTube type of space or continue to do Twitter, but we'll see. And I'll let you know and tweet it out.
All right, bro. I appreciate you for joining me today, man. And you have a good evening. And we'll see y'all. We'll see you. Everything starts August the 31st, y'all.
Miles by 3 over Bama State too.
Ooh, all right. That's what I like to hear. All right, bro.
All right.
All right, man. We gonna be up on out of here. Jay, what's going on, man? Appreciate you for joining me up here and monitoring the chat room and stuff like that. But other than that, man, we got some. If you haven't, like I said, if you haven't seen everything, we did that Twitter space earlier today with BJ Jones. Y'all need to go check that out. Hear the replay and stuff on that. But other than that, man, we gonna go ahead and roll up out of here. I gotta cook me some dinner for tonight, so I'll be back on this thing on Tuesday afternoon, and we gonna get ready for football season. We got, in fact, tomorrow for JSU Tigers. Tomorrow, fall practice starts. Fall practice starts tomorrow. In fact, fall practice starts for most of these schools, for majority of the schools this week. So y'all go ahead and y'all get tuned in, because we're gonna have one hell of a ride this year for college football, HBCU football, to be exact. But make sure y'all like the stream. Make sure you comment, share, and most of all, subscribe to the channel. Hit that donation button. We always taking donations between PayPal, Cash App, and the Zelle. We do have the hoodies that are on sale for $40, and you know, we got a lot of things going on. Of course, I'm still working on trying to get the DFW high school football show for this season. And of course, try to get all my schedules ready for the road trip that I'm going to be taking for this season. But other than that, y'all be blessed. Y'all stay safe, and y'all hug your loved ones. We out this thing. Be back on here Tuesday afternoon at noon. Peace.